Hi, my name is Dr. Ali. Welcome to Foreign MD, where we share stories and experiences of foreign trained medical graduates who were able to navigate the rigorous transition process at every level. These stories are meant to inspire and encourage you. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Foreign MD. I'm so excited to have you here today. I am your host, Dr. Ali, and today I have with me Dr. Mamta. She is an internal medicine physician, and if you are joining us for the first time, what we do in Foreign MD is that we share stories of physicians who were able to successfully transition from a place that's different from where they originally trained. And we just share their story, their experiences, so that we can be inspired and know exactly what it takes to make this journey. So thank you, Ramta, for agreeing to be a part of this conversation. So could you just briefly introduce yourself?
Well, hi there. Thank you so much for having me, first of all. So I'm a board certified internal medicine physician, born and raised back in India. I did my medical school, which was away from back in India, but way away from my place of birth. And then after that, I came here to the United States and finished my residency, internal medicine residency over here.
Okay,
And I've
awesome.
been here for like 12 years now practicing.
Oh, wow. Awesome. That's great. So what made you decide to take that leap and transition to the States after your training in India?
So my husband, who I got married in the fourth year of medical college, and he was an IT guy. Initially went to London. He stayed there for a few months. And by the time I had graduated, he was here in the United States. So I came here to join him, but I honestly came with all my big bag full of all the books which I would be reading or the post-graduation back in India, because here you have to compete, you have to read, you have to give the exam, and you're ranked nationally, and then you get a place and you go there. I felt like full, like, the one big bag, which was like around 20, 25 pounds of books with me, because my whole intention, because he didn't need, want to stay here. So our intention was like, okay, he was in the UK for a few months, and then he went back to India. He'll be in US, and then we'll go back again over there back in India, and I'll continue my residency there. But as time passed, I realized that, I stayed here for a whole year. I met a few of my batchmates who were doing USMLE exams, and they were like, oh, I got 99. The other one says, I got 99. I'm like, it's like how hard it can be, And I don't know when I go back in India to give the exam. How about let me prep for like 3 months and give me one? Let's do one USMLE exam, and depending upon whatever comes out, we'll decide. I gave USMLE step 1 in 3 months of preparation. I got like, not 99, I believe it was 94, 96, somewhere around. I was like, it seems like it's not that hard. And it slowly kind of came out to be, I discussed with my husband, and he was like, I don't know for sure if we want to stay in the United States long term, but if the training is going to take you 3 years, you can train here, because it seems like I'll stay here for a few years.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So this was kind of like an accidental. It wasn't planned or anything like
it was
that.
not planned at all. No.
Okay, awesome. So right now you are currently in internal medicine. Has that always been your choice?
Yes. Anything I wanted to, like when I entered in the medical college and I started to do the clinical rotation, I was definitely mesmerized with surgery. But when I came back to reality and when I was choosing the branches, I realized like surgery, the time schedule and the length of training was not something which I wanted to do. So I definitely wanted to do internal medicine. And after that, I wanted to do oncology.
Okay. So I'm guessing the oncology part did not happen.
It did not happen. So I started the job already. And then I had some of my own health issues. Then I did the integrative medicine fellowship, primarily for my own health. Honestly, I was looking for a career transition because I like the hospitalist work schedule. But I was dealing with some autoimmune health problem. I was taking all the medical management, but everybody was talking about this functional and integrative medicine. And at that time, I believe it was around 2021 or 2018, I guess.
Yeah.
It was kind of in people's radar, but the doctors were not freely available and the information was not that freely available at all. And I wanted to not be missing out. So I kind of joined the online fellowship and did more functional medicine training after that.
So from your time when you started preparing for your board, how long did it take you to complete it?
I'm a very hard-headed person. If I decide to do something, I'm like, okay, I do my maths. This is the exam which is required. These are the subjects. These are the topics. I just kind of break it all apart. So I believe within a year, I was done with all my exams.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I'm kind of person who would just lock myself up. I had no social life while my husband was kind of working. He had friends. And I'd moved to this brand new town. I kind of just bought the books and the courses, and I just kind of put my head down. And every exam, every 3 months, I
Yeah.
just kept kind of finishing. I had no clue in the application process, which was very different again. I had to kind of learn how to apply on errors and, how to decide where to apply and stuff like that. But I
Yeah.
finished all the exams within a year. And the same year I applied as well for the residency.
Did you match that same year?
Not the same year because, as you know, I believe, I don't know what's the schedule right now, but at that time, applications were supposed to be in by September
Yeah.
with the results. And then you were starting to get the interviews around October, November, December. But I was done with my first set of exams in November or December. So I applied very late. So I got like 2 interviews, which were not great locations. So I don't believe I interviewed that year.
Okay. Okay.
The
So,
second year is where I got.
okay. Did you get the choice of your dreams? Like the match
Honestly,
process?
I don't know. So I kind of interviewed. I had not set up a location as my like, okay, this is where I want to go or not. Because honestly, I was brand new. I didn't have many friends. Some of my other friends were already doing masters of public health or some other kind of stuff in the
Yeah.
university already. But I didn't know anybody locally or I was not connected to anybody. So I was kind of open. And when I interviewed, I got a pre-match in Texas Tech Amarillo. So I'm like, why not? I'll just take it. So I kind of withdrew my application. And I think it was till November I accepted the pre-match. I was like, I'm not playing that gambling game because I still, in my brain, I couldn't understand that ranking algorithm.
Yeah.
Like, so I just took a pre-match and then I was out of the game.
Okay. Awesome. So how did that look for your husband in terms of having to move, or was it something? I mean, how did that dynamic work out for you?
Yeah. So once I got selected, then we had to kind of figure it out. He was in North Carolina then. And then I came to Texas. And again, this place, Amarillo, was a very small town. So if he was looking for the IT jobs, I know there are a lot of remote jobs right now, but not back then. Back in 2009, that was not fashion at that time. So he had a remote inkling that at one point he wanted to do MBA. So I was like, you know what? If you want to do MBA, you can do MBA at Texas Tech Amarillo. So both of us kind of planned. He gave his exams, and I think for 1 year we stayed separately. And then he came in Texas Tech Lubbock, which is around, I believe, less than 2 hours distance. So he would stay there for the weekdays and come back here on the weekends. So that's how we kind of did it.
It's awesome. So you started your residency journey getting in there. How was the transition for you? Like, was it stuff you were familiar with back in your training in India, or were things kind of different? Because like I said, you're coming from India, a different setting, and then you land, you've barely been a year here, about 2 years. I mean, was it easy for you to acclimatize culture-wise and just the whole setting?
Definitely was not. It was definitely hard because, as you know, back in India, I had not worked there. I just worked as a regular intern as a medical student. Once I got my degree, I came here. So I'd never worked as a resident physician there, but I saw resident physicians working really hard, but I never cared to know their schedules, their sleep hours. So I didn't pay attention. But when I came here, I distinctly remember the whole introduction and the welcome and stuff like that. Everybody kept on bringing how hard residency is. A lot of divorces happened in residency in our seniors classroom. Nobody openly talked about suicide or anything, and I never would SNR program. But, they were very vocal, and it was kind of very openly just said that it's going to be really, really, really hard. This is going to be your priority. If you have family, kids, everything will need to be secondary. So I really think I kind of felt better that my husband was not with me the whole time. Almost it could have acted as a distraction, but I was like, okay, he's, because I was working really hard. There was no, even though, like there is always a time limit, you always cross that. There was always that switch of like, doing nights, and then you have to do the day. There are 3, when you're in the hospital, you're doing 3 days, and then you do one night call where you're up for like 30 hours, and then you switch back again and you're up going in the daytime. So it definitely was kind of very, very hard at that time. Since I was coming back from India, like even though I can speak English, the accent issues, I speak fast. Those kind of issues, it definitely took me some time to kind of get settled. and make sure that I was understood and I was able to understand the expectation and deliver as much, I could.
Okay. Do you feel like you had a supportive program? Like, were there a lot of other immigrants in your program that kind of made you
Yeah.
feel okay?
Yes.
Okay.
So there were quite a bit of immigrants in our program, and attendings are all different kinds, sizes, and shapes, as you know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So there were a few who could have been better, but they were our program director was very, very supportive,
Okay.
to our needs, and was very, very fair.
It always does help when you have a supportive program.
Yeah.
So, family back in India, how was their response to you not coming back in terms of you saying you want to stay here and practice?
Yeah.
Was there a lot of support with that, or were there mixed feelings?
I think it started with the mixed feelings because, I'm from North India, not a very, very small village, but still a comparatively smaller place where people even going, especially even the female child going to a major city for the medical college or her college was not
Yeah.
something that was going on in my generation at that time. So I
Yeah.
was the first female to kind of leave the hometown and go to the major metro city in Mumbai
Yeah.
to kind of go and do the medical college. So I have been out of the house for so long. So I really think for me, making the transition from Mumbai to here was not that bad mentally because a lot of my, friends at that time over there were coming here. But definitely for my parents, and, when I think about that girl who started the medical journey from there, it's like
Yeah.
a very far journey for sure.
Okay, awesome. So, were there any challenges that you experienced in residency? Anything that, kind of made you think of like, was this the right decision for me or not? Like, how did that work out for you?
As you know, when you're young, you want to do everything. But I remember, and now when I think about that, oh my gosh, I could have done better. So I had my first child in my third year of residency.
Okay.
And then, as you know, even though we talk about equality, there are males, female residents. When you're
Yeah.
female, you have to kind of time everything. So the way I did was like, okay, my due date is going to be coming. Let me go ahead and do all the hard rotations back to back,
Yeah.
night, ICU, floor. So all these
Oh,
just doing
wow.
back to back things. And I realized when I was, believe in 6 months, I had preterm labor scare, which led me to get admitted to the hospital,
Oh, wow.
in the hospital where I was working. And my home was very nearby. So they were like, oh, we have two options. Either you can stay here or go home. And if something happens, then you come back.
Yeah.
So I stayed at home for good 2 months.
Oh, wow.
And baby still didn't come. And then I was still at the high risk and stuff like that. And then, as you know, like we are on the timeline and schedule, right? So if you
Yeah.
don't reach your residency by midday, all my vacations have been gone.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, if I don't finish it by that day, I was on J1 visa, the J1 visa date, the extension will be required and stuff like that. So I made a erratic, rash decision, which I think I would never make now or recommend anybody to do that. But almost at the end, when like all my vacations were gone, so the option was either I extend my residency and J1 visa through all the USCIS application, or I go back to the hospital. I went back to the hospital. So that time I started doing my ER rotation, and my ER docs were like, do you realize like there's so many other bad things which can happen in life other than
Yeah.
in a residency? But at that time for me, there was nothing else which could happen. So now I have like that child came out okay. There was no issues with that. So now I have another one which came early, and she's a special needs child. So now I'm like, oh my God, like was it worth doing that? But again, when you're young, that motivated, want to do things on time,
Yeah.
take these things into account. But I'm so glad it turned out okay, and my daughter is fine.
That's good. But yeah, that must have been rough. That really must have been rough. I mean, looking back, looking at your daughter, I'm sure it's definitely worth it, the stress and worth everything that you went through. So what would be your advice for foreign medical graduates who are trying to transition and make this journey? Like if someone were to have told you steps to take to be prepared, what would you think those would have looked like that you think would have been helpful?
I think one major thing which I wish somebody told me was medicine is not your life, and have a life outside medicine, right? I really thought like being a doctor and me, there was no delineation or separation between me. And if I was not a doctor, like, who am I? Like, I didn't even know. I really think we need to keep that in mind, that at the end, like, medicine is just a career. It could be a passion, stuff like that. But again, there's so many things which can happen in life. I really think we have to kind of keep that in mind and have your identity and then be comfortable with that. Just, nurture that part of you. I really think if you just attach yourself, like you're so stuck being a doctor, I really don't think you can see outside, how the real life is. Because, at one point you do start having real life issues, which just like any other patients or any other human beings, Yeah.
True. Being a doctor does not insulate you from those issues. And
I wish somebody told me that. I almost kind of felt I was put on a pedestal, like coming from a family where there were no doctors. Especially, so I was almost like, I kind of felt that, oh, everything will just go my way.
Yeah.
Always. Until it started to just not. I was like, hard work was the key to everything, but not necessarily.
Yeah. Okay. So we're done with our residency. So how did that process of like applying for a job? Did you land your dream job immediately, or how did that go for you?
So I did sign up my dream job, which I thought at that point was in the end of the second year. So I kind of, I waited for a year, and then I came to San Antonio, which was a major town where my husband was able to kind of find a job, so I really thought at that time that was my dream job until life happened.
Okay. So currently I know, so are you practicing full time now, or what's your schedule like?
So I almost, like in pandemic, I quit because of my old health issues, and I started to do real estate full time. 3 months ago, no, October, I started to do some PRN shifts, and I realized that I found them very exhausting. So the last time I did my shifts, which was 3 days straight, was almost a month ago. So I'm still credentialed as a PRN hospitalist, but I don't know if I want to continue to do that, because I really think the dream and the vision which I had back then, in doing the hospital medicine, I think everything has just kept on changing in a worse way recently.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I want to continue to do this.
So you were able to make that mindset shift from not just being a doctor, but then you started to delve into the entrepreneurship world. How did that happen? Like, tell me where that shift came from, or what made you take that step?
So it was not a drastic step. As I told you, I landed my dream job in San Antonio. And then I started to have, like, within a year or two, I think it was the second year of being in the job, which I thought was good. I started to have, I was pregnant with my second child. I started to have the pregnancy complications. Yes, which ended me being on the bed rest. And then the other child, which I have, is a 24-weeker. She was born in 24 weeks. And after that, I had to leave her in NICU because I was already on bed rest and I was still employed. So for 6 months I was out, and they wanted me to go back to the hospital because this NICU stay was prolonged. It was for almost 5 months.
Oh.
So that didn't feel good at all to me. I was like, being a physician is a good thing, noble thing, but I just want to be a mom, and to be able to be a mom. And I was always kind of put into that position where, like, oh, you're a doctor, your patients are waiting for you, this and that, like, we can't do this and that. So I really think at that time, around in 2014, when my second daughter was born, I started to kind of feel that, oh, I don't know if this is the right thing for me. But I was not able to pull the trigger and try to build another identity or another business so that I could support myself.
Yeah.
So the only thing which I could do at that time was I kept on switching jobs. I would just leave. So I got on, like, our schedule didn't work out. So I was like, from there, I started urgent care, to work in the urgent care. That schedule didn't work out. Then I became a full-time nocturnist. That made me much more sicker. Then I chose a part-time hospitalist job, from which I left in pandemic. I thought that was ideal balance. I was like, okay, this is where I could retire from.
Yeah.
But as you know, part-time hospitalist is 1 week work and 3 weeks off.
Yeah.
And then my salary was cut into half as well. So I was like, okay, if this is what I want to do long-term and not play the same game again where I quit and go back, that's not been helpful. So I need to be able to supplement my income. So if I'm able to make 6 figures somehow, I really think this is going to be a long, sustainable game where I could eventually retire from. So that, slowly started to work on land investing. And I didn't want to work outside the house. I wanted that time flexibility to be able to work anywhere because, I had both these little girls at home. One of them was requiring quite a bit of therapies at home. My schedule was kind of, very erratic as well. And that's how I kind of started to kind of work on that. So it was kind of going on since 2018.
Oh, wow. So this was life happening, and then that created the mind shift.
Yeah.
For you. It wasn't something that you had just initially wanted to. It's just you decide, okay. So how come land investing? Like, how did you come about thinking that this would be a good alternative source of income? Was it something you saw someone doing, or did you do your research and like,
as you know, like as a physician doing land investing, that's like totally different. So I really think at multiple points, I started other businesses, which is like integrative care MD. After I did my fellowship, I was like, you know what? I could do integrative telemedicine. And I started that like full-fledged practice, but I could never market it. And I would just like not take action on that. And then I also started a health coaching business for which I was like, oh, I could do this maybe. And I realized that I just kept on kind of like, and I would just form this LLCs. I'll start the whole website. I'll start the page and stuff like that. But I kept on taking action on land investing, but not in these two. Earlier, I had like no clarity. Why am I not doing that? But eventually it dawned on me that, whenever I'm doing integrative medicine, I can't delegate this stuff. The patient care is what I will be doing. So it will be one-to-one. Like I spend time, I make the income. Same thing with health coaching. Initially, that's how it was going to be. Eventually, I could have done other things like hard people. But with the land investing, I had already kind of worked on that, and I already made 6-figure income per year since 2018. So I'm like, you know what? It's better to just kind of create the system and hire somebody, because at one point investing, I can delegate a lot of things. That's what I do right now, so that it provides me the total time freedom. I can just kind of sit on the computer, 4, 5, 10 hours per week, and I'm good. Everything is just moving because other people know what to do and they keep doing. So time freedom is what I was like seeking, and I chose this just because of that.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you were willing to just try different things. You were not afraid to like, create a company and then say, okay, is this going to work? Or, well, it didn't work. Yeah. So let's move on, which I guess is a lot of people. That's where the difference is sometimes we just get so stuck in what we're used to that we don't want to try.
Yeah, I've been honestly at my core, I thought like, I love medicine. Why would I do that? Like something else, like, my identity is being a physician. So I think I was trying to kind of push it, but I realized that at core, I was looking for the freedom. And I was like, God, like if I do this, there are so many other things which could come and I will always be pulled. If I'm like, oh, I started telemedicine practice, yeah, I can hire other people to do, but it needs to be profitable enough. And as we know, like most of the millionaires and wealth is generated in the real estate, just kind of keeping that in mind. Like, doctors can become rich, but most of the doctors are not. So I'm like, okay, why am I pushing this? Probably, even if it's my passion, I kept on telling myself, okay, if I'm passionate about it, I'll come back to it later.
Yeah.
I'll come back to it later. And even right now, I think it's been last year, like after June, I realized that like, maybe I'll not go back and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. That's a good thing. That's awesome. That you have generated the type of life that you want, and the freedom that you want. And he said your family is central to you having that time freedom. So what's your company look like? So what do you do in terms of if someone wanted to reach out to you to ask or to get training or just even find out what's this all about? Like, where did they start from?
So I have a website called Fastfire MD because, I have kind of, I even started that LLC and I thought like, I would love to do this, but I realized that it was taking away my time. So we still have a website called Fastfire MD, but I trained like almost 50 people last time. But right now I have like a physician group, which is Fast Financial Freedom for physician with land investing. And I'm kind of active on that. And mostly all of the recordings and what I do, I kind of share for free as a motivation for others. And I offer the opportunity to invest passively with me at this point.
That is awesome. Well, thank you so much for just kind of sharing your story and your journey. And I guess just listening to you, one of the things that I would say I totally enjoyed is just you're being flexible, right? At every stage of your journey, you're like, let's see where this goes.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I am right now. I don't know where I'm going and what I'm going to do. I was just talking to my friend today. I'm like, I don't know what's in future, but life is good right now. But I think I have enough time. But now what do I do with this extra time now? I figure something out.
But a lot of times as physicians, we're not trained to think outside the box. So when you see other physicians who just say, hey, there's more to this, and then just dip your toes in the water and then just keep going and going. It is truly inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing your journey. I didn't know that someone will benefit from it. And you did get an awesome badge for being a great foreign MD.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So if you want to join the conversation, we're going to have the links up on YouTube and also Spotify to listen to the podcast. And I know that someone out there did have great benefit from this journey.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please share, like, and subscribe to encourage a fellow physician who is also on this transition journey.